sound. Guess I'll just close my eyes.
NASA just announced it has discovered organic materials, the building blocks of life, all the way on Mars. But that's not the only fascinating space-related news to come out recently. According to a newly leaked Pentagon report, in 2004, a U.S. aircraft carrier was stalked for several days by a UFO that witnesses said resembled a supersonic tic-tac. The object reportedly could hover in midair and make itself invisible. This shocked to confuse the Navy pilots who monitored it. Nick Pope is a journalist and investigated UFO sightings for the British government. He joins us tonight. Nick, why would information like this, I know you've seen this a million times, but why would we need to read about it because it was leaked? Why wouldn't the U.S. government tell us this? Is there some reason?
Well, I think there's always embarrassment about anything in our airspace that performance characteristics exceed anything in our own inventory. And that, by the way, was the conclusion in this Pentagon document. This thing ran rings around our F-18 Super Hornets that tried to chase this thing. It was briefly tracked on radar, but then it seemed to be able to, and this again is a phrase from the document, it's almost like it cloaked itself and became invisible. You'd think this was science fiction if you weren't reading it in Pentagon documents. And we know now, which we didn't know before, that the government took this very seriously, and these things are being seen in our skies, whatever they might be, by pilots tracked on radar, and there's a serious defense and national security issue here.
And just to be clear, we don't believe that any other country possesses the technology to create an aircraft like this, right?
Absolutely correct, yes. One of the things that went into this report was obviously looking to see if this sort of thing was anything in our own inventory and indeed anything that any other nation has. I mean, certainly when I was investigating UFOs for the British government, we knew that some of these things would turn out to be secret prototype aircraft, drones and missiles. But we always knew through our own intelligence sources, you know, who has what, so you can eliminate that.
So what you're really saying is that the U.S. government and the British government have essentially concluded that there's something not from this world that humans did not create that is being tracked on radar and watched by people who watch aircraft for a living. I mean, this is real.
It is real. Now, the government doesn't go so far as to say these things are extraterrestrial, but certainly when I was doing this for the Ministry of Defense, our policy statement said neither do we rule out that possibility. We said that we kept an open mind on this. But of course, you know, these things, when their speeds and maneuvers are in excess of anything that you've got or anything that you're aware other nations have, you are forced almost to think the unthinkable. And absolutely. Part of the problem with this, of course, was just that senior political figures and military chiefs often just said UFOs, and they rolled their eyes, and it was the ridicule factor.
This seems like
we were able to say.
I'm sorry, we're out of time, Nick, but this just seems like a story that we should be covering much more than we do, and I hope you will come back. Thank you.
Thank you, I will do.
UFOs have captivated the public interest for decades, but they've always been dismissed, including by me, as the province of wackos. But that is changing thanks to some remarkable videotape and first-hand accounts from very sober people who are trained to identify aircraft. And that would include this video. It shows two Navy pilots encountering something bizarre off the east coast of the United States. Watch this.
Echo 6-1 Tango, Roger, Roger.
Oh, got it! Woohoo!
Roger, there's troubleshooting.
Did you box moving target?
No, I took an auto track.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Wow.
Okay, these are guys who fly for a living, who know what other airplanes look like, including those maintained by foreign governments, and they're totally shocked by this. This is one among many incidents like it, including many that have happened in the middle of the day to sober people, lots of independent witnesses at the same event, commercial pilots, military pilots, O'Hare Airport in the afternoon. None of them have obvious explanations. These are aircraft, apparently, that are moving in ways that appear to violate physics, that are flying very differently from any aircraft ever observed, and way faster than any plane that we know any foreign country has. What is this? Well, we don't know, because for some reason the Defense Department is not interested in finding out. Lou Elizondo is a former Pentagon official. He helped research UFOs. He said the DoD is not taking any of this seriously for some reason. Mr. Elizondo joins us tonight. Lou, good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
So did I overstate that? Is there a growing corpus of evidence, not drunk people on a lonely rural road at 3 in the morning, but sober military pilots saying something that we can't explain is happening?
That is correct. You're talking about individuals who have very high security clearances. They are trained observers. We've actually paid them and put them through schools to be trained and very keen observers to scrutinize what they're seeing. These are individuals who we trust to fly weapons platforms, sometimes with live munitions, over U.S. cities and to fight and win wars on our behalf. And they're reporting to us that they're seeing something that they can't explain, and it's also being backed up by the video evidence and the radar data and other witnesses.
But these must just be weather balloons, right?
Well, the weather balloons that are expressing technologies that are far beyond our current understanding of aerodynamics, things that are maneuvering in ways that no aircraft that we are currently aware of has that capability to. Flight performance characteristics that are well beyond the threshold of what we would consider, I think, normal or routine for aircraft.
So they have no flight surfaces, no wings or anything approaching a wing, and there's also no obvious propulsion. So infrared doesn't pick up any jet trail or rocket exhaust coming out of these things.
Right, or a plume. You know, there's many ways to have propulsion. You can do it with a jet engine, for example,
right,
a propeller, or a rocket engine. In this particular case, you have objects that are doing things, maneuvering in ways without any obvious sign of propulsion, and defying the natural effects of Earth's gravitational.
At what speeds?
Pull. Some are very, very, very fast.
Faster than our aircraft or known
absolutely
aircraft?
Hypersonic speeds, and by the way, without any obvious signs or signatures involved. So when an object's moving through the atmosphere, you would expect it to have certain signatures associated with that particular aircraft, whether it's a missile, drone, rocket. So for example, you might see a heat signature coming from it. You might see ionization of the atmosphere.
Right.
You might hear a sonic boom, which you normally would. It's an acoustic signature. In this particular case, these objects don't have any of those signatures.
So we know that they're not U.S. military because they wouldn't be flying near U.S. military aircraft, as they so often have. And it seems like we would know if foreign countries had that technology. Look, I have no idea what it is. The bottom line is this is a potential threat, a grave one to our country. What is DoD doing about it?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of DoD right now because I'm no longer employed as a Department of Defense employee, but I can speak to what they were doing about it and what they weren't doing about it when I was part of the program. I think DoD is a very large, complex organization. I think it's very good at what it normally does, but in this particular case, we had a very ill-defined problem set. And so when you're going to the boss and you say, look, boss, we have something here, we don't know what it is. We sure don't know how it works, and by the way, there's nothing we can do about it. That is a very difficult conversation to have in an organization that is, its sole mission is national security,
It's
right?
just, I think it's terrifying. I mean, this seems potentially like one of the biggest stories of my lifetime, and I don't care if it's about UFOs or whatever you call it. Something that we don't understand is getting very close to our military aircraft, and the government isn't responding adequately, and I hope you keep sounding the alarm on this.
Yeah, I think, if I may, just very quickly.
We've got 10 seconds.
Okay. You go to the metro, you see a sign, see something, say something, and we get an attaboy for reporting it. In this particular case, these pilots who are seeing something and is backed up by other data, it's nothing.
It's terrifying. That's the essence of dysfunction. Lou, thank you for that. I hope
Yes,
you'll
sir.
come back.
The Pentagon has been keeping track, or trying to, of the type of aircraft that don't take off and land from conventional airports. We're talking about unidentified flying objects, UFOs. You can laugh about it if you want, but a lot of people are taking this revelation very seriously. Correspondent Garrett Tenney is here with more on this program. Good evening, Garrett.
Well, Brett, good evening to you. We may not know if aliens exist, but it turns out our government had a special team of UFO hunters that was trying to find out. The Pentagon now confirms the existence of a secretive UFO program tasked with investigating reports of unidentified flying objects. The Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program was created in 2007 at the urging of then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. And over the next 5 years, years, the program received more than $20 million for its work, which included analyzing a variety of aeronautic threats ranging from what could be our adversaries' next-generation aircraft to reports from military pilots of encounters with unknown objects like this one in 2004 that appear to defy the laws of physics.
Look at that thing, dude. Look at that thing. It's rotating.
Now, the Pentagon tells us the program ended in 2012 when officials determined there were other higher priority issues. But the program's former director, who resigned in October, says it was only the funding that ended and that over the last 5 years, the program has continued investigating incidents alongside their new responsibilities. This weekend, Harry Reid said he has no regrets about the program he championed, tweeting in part, "This is about science and national security. If America doesn't take the lead in answering these questions, others will." And this isn't the first time the Pentagon's investigated UFOs. Between 1947 and 1969, the U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book investigated more than 12,000 UFO sightings. And while most of those ended up having reasonable explanations, 700 sightings remain unexplained. Brett?
Guess I'll just close my eyes.